Today, let's talk about a new concept that need to be taught in the primary school science: cycles. A cycle is defined as a pattern that repeats itself continuously. That's why usually a cycle is actually circular in structure. It tells you that it actually goes in circles and never ends because it repeats itself continuously. Why do you need to study cycle? Because the cycle helps us to predict changes, like the lunar cycle, which I'm going to talk about, or the seasonal cycles that we're going to talk about later. Basically, it helps us to actually inform us about the next stages in a cycle. Now, cycles occur in both living and non-living things. And in the next series of lectures, we'll talk about cycles that occurs in living things as well as in non-living things. One of the most interesting non-living cycles that we are talking about is actually the lunar cycle. So the lunar cycle basically talks about the appearance of the moon. And we know that the appearance of the moon changes as we move around the earth, right? In this diagram, we can see that when we have a no moon all the way, you actually the moon surface actually increases, waxing crescent, first quarter, waxing globus until a full moon, and after that the cycle continues as the surface of the moon become less and less visible to the people right at that exact location on earth. So the cycle basically repeats itself and keep on going right round and round. Another cycles that you basically would see in temperate countries but not in countries like in Singapore, right, is the seasonal cycle. We know there are 4 seasons in a year. We have the spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And this cycle basically takes 1 year to go through the entire cycle. And why is there a seasonal cycle in temperate countries? Because the earth moves around the sun in 1 year. The tilt of the earth's surface really causes the seasons, right? Equatorial, Singapore is in the equatorial. The tilting does not affect its relative position towards the sun, and therefore Singapore do not have do the Singaporeans in Singapore do not experience seasonal cycle. Now, if you look carefully, the cycle always go in a fixed manner, from spring to summer to autumn to winter, back to spring, summer, autumn, winter. So the pattern is always repeating itself continuously. Like just now, I actually talked about life cycle of plants, right? Now we move on to the life cycle of animals, right? As you know, animals also need to reproduce itself to continue their species on Earth. So in terms of the life cycle of some animals have a 3-stage life cycle, some many have a 4-stage life cycles. Let's talk about some of these animals that have a 3-stage life cycle. One of the predominant or major species that have a 3-stage life cycle is that of a human. Okay, human after fertilization, the egg will be formed. The egg will develop into a baby inside the mother until it's ready to be born. So once born, it becomes a baby, right? So a baby is usually born or is born alive, and the baby looks like an adult, just as a smaller version. It has hands, it has legs, it has heads, it has eyes, it has nose, it has mouth. Analytically, it's the same as an adult. It will slowly grow, right, to become the adult. So this is what we call the 3-stage life cycle of human. We have the egg, the youngs, and the adults. Next, we talk about life cycle of chicken. The chicken also have a 3-stage life cycle. It's like human, they start with egg, but chicken lay the egg out before the chick is born. So the egg will lay on the land, and each egg has a hard shell. Okay, a chicken is a bird basically lay hard shell eggs, right? And these eggs the hard shell of the eggs protects the young animals growing inside. Okay, once the eggs are ready, it will hatch and the young chick will come out. So the young of the chicken is called a chick. And the chick looks like the adult. It has its beak, it has 2 legs, it has a body. Its body is covered with feathers.
But
Okay?
Papa is yellow.
Yes, it's yellow, right? It's just the pigments on the feather. But this young chick will slowly grow, right? Bigger and bigger until it actually resembles the adult's chicken. So the three stage, again, just like the human, it consists of the egg, although the anatomy of the eggs are different. Eggs, the youngs, and the adults.
Papa, will
Next, we talk about the frog. The frog basically also have a three-stage life cycles. Again, the three-stage life cycle consists of the egg stage, the young, and the adult stage. However, they are different in the case compared to human and the chicken is because in view of the frog, the eggs are basically laid in water, not on land. And the eggs have a jelly-like covering, soft and have a jelly-like covering. Okay, it's just like jellies. And when the eggs are hatched, it gives rise to the tadpoles. The tadpole is actually the youngs of the frog. But if you look carefully at the tadpoles and the adult frog, they are basically they look very different, right? First, the young tadpole, right, live in water. It does not look like the adult frog. It has a tail, which the adult frog do not have, and basically the tadpole live through its gills. Okay, but what does breathe through his gills, sorry. But the adult frog doesn't use gills, it breathes through the lungs and the skin, right? Remember? And the adult frog can not only live in water, they also can live on land. They can live on both land. Yes, the tadpole cannot live on water, but the frog can live both on land and in water.
this one cannot on land.
Yes, the tadpole cannot be living on land, right? It needs water.
It don't have a leg.
Yes, the tadpole do not have legs, it only have a tail to swim.
I thought it's a adult frog, and then it will have legs.
Yes.
I thought it cannot move.
So there are a lot of changes between the young and the adult in a frog. First, the lungs will develop, the skin will develop also, the tail will recess such that the adult frog do not have a tail, right? And limbs start growing because the tadpole do not have any legs and hands, right? But adult frogs have both the appendage, the four appendages, right? Ready to actually let them live on land. Don't disturb daddy. Okay, the life cycle of a cockroach is also a three-stage. Again, it consists of the egg, the youngs. The youngs is called a limb. Okay, this is slightly special. We don't call it young, we call it the limb, NYMPH. Right, it looks exactly like the adult, except it's smaller, and it does not have wings. Okay, some adult cockroach have wings, but the young adults or the young cockroach or the limb does not have wings. Right, it moves over time as it grows because it has exoskeleton. So as it grows, it gets bigger. The adult cockroach has wings and it can fly. Some of them can fly. Okay.
Daddy, what?
The last three-stage life cycle I'm going to talk about is that of the grasshopper. The grasshopper have three stages. Again, it consists of the egg, the young, and the duck. Right, similar to the cockroach, the young of the grasshopper is also called a nymph, NYMPH. Similar to the cockroach, the nymph of the grasshopper looks exactly like the duck, except that it's smaller and does not have wings. It has to move several times as it grows. And the adult grasshopper has wings and it can fly.
Papa.
Remember at the beginning, I said that some of the life cycle animals consist of three stages and some consist of four stages. Now let's talk about some of the life cycle that actually make up 4 stages. The first 4-stage life cycle I'm going to talk about is that of a butterfly. Now remember, in the 3-stage, it consists of the egg, the young, and the adult, right? But for 4-stage, usually it consists of the egg, the larva form, the pupa form, and the adult. Okay, so the egg and adult, the first and the last stage is very similar to the 3-stage life cycle. Yes, but in between the egg and the adult, you have 2 additional stages. We have the larva, right, which is actually right after the egg is hatched, and basically for the pupa. Yes. So for a butterfly, the eggs are laid on plants, usually underneath. Each egg is protected by a hard shell, and when it's hatched, the larva, right, of the the butterfly, which is also called the caterpillar, will actually come out of the egg. It lives on plants, it eat a lot. It actually grow by molding, and it grows to become what we call the pupa. the pupa is actually the third stage of the life cycle in a butterfly. So at this stage, it can attach itself to a leaf or twig. It stops feeding, it continues developing in the pupa case. And finally, breaking out of the case is actually the butterfly. So an adult butterfly comes out of the pupa case. When it breaks open, it spreads its wing and waits for them to dry before flying off. Okay, so this is a 4-stage life cycle of a butterfly. And now you got a question?
No.
Now, when we talk about 4-stage life cycle, again, in a mosquito, we have actually split into the egg, the larva, and the pupa and adult stage, right? Similar to that of the butterfly. Okay, what is not so similar is sometimes we call the larva of mosquito a wiggler, right? So the egg will be laid in still water, and after when the eggs hatch, the larva of the mosquito or the wiggler will live in water. It eats a lot and moves several times as it goes. Then finally, the wiggler will change into a pupa. We live near the water surface, stop feeding, continues develop in the pupa case, and finally, when it's ready, an adult mosquito will come out of the pupa case. When it breaks open, spread its wing, wait for its wing to dry before flying off to become a full-grown adult mosquito.
Is that your flower?
Yeah. So the life cycle of beetle is also a 4-stage, right? Until now, the 4-stage life cycle are mostly insects. So again, you can see the egg, the larva, the pupa, and the adult stage. Eggs are laid on leaf. When the eggs hatches, the larva of the ladybird beetle will actually come out. They live on the plants. It eats a lot, moves several times as it grows. Eventually, it becomes the pupa, right? And it attaches itself to the leaf or stem of the plant. It stops eating and continues to develop in the pupa case. When the time is ripe, right, an adult ladybird beetle comes out of the pupa case. When it breaks open, it spreads its wing and waits for its wing to dry before flying off. So this is the 4-stage life cycle of a beetle.
Papa.
Remember just now I talked about the life cycles of the plant. Plants also have their own life cycle, but we only want to study one type of life cycle of a plant. So the life cycle of plants is quite straightforward. It involves 3 stages: the seed, the young plant, and the adult plant, right? The adult plant will produce a seed. The seed will grow into a young plant, and a young plant, which resembles the adult plant, will actually grow up to become the adult plant. So that's the 3-stage life cycle of a plant. Yes.
Beautiful flower.
So what happens during the seed germination? As the seed grows, its roots grow first. The roots usually grow first, then the shoot grows after some time. And then it becomes a young plant, and the young plant just grows slowly, right? It increases in size, right? With more anatomy like the leaves, like the bulbs, like the flowers to produce the seed accordingly.